This is VOCM Open Line. Call 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626. The views and opinions of this program are not necessarily those of this station. The biggest conversation in Newfoundland and Labrador starts now.
Well, good Tuesday morning, everybody, and welcome to Open Line. Brian Callahan with you on the program, and David Williams, of course, producing the show. The numbers to call or text as well in the St. John's metro area, 709-273-5211. Elsewhere, 1-888-590-VOCM. You know that. Or 8626. And, of course, we welcome your emails at openline@vocm.com. Couldn't be easier. Speaking of which, I spent a copious amount of time going through a number of the emails we received during the show yesterday, after the program, of course, and I'll get to some of them as time permits, of course. So a pretty sloppy one out there this morning in Metro, a little bit of everything, some flurries, some drizzle, some fog, freezing rain, all blown around by some brisk little breezes. Pretty much par for the course, of course, for February in Newfoundland and Labrador. Kind of makes you think about heading south, you know, but probably not Cuba. So, of course, as you're probably seeing in the news, and I don't know if you have plans and if you need to be told this, I'm sure you're already on it, but that country, of course, and hopefully you're not down there, and if you are, making arrangements to return, because it's just the uncertainty is through the roof in that country right now, in the midst of an energy crisis. So people who are there being, shifted from one resort to another in some cases, due to outages, lack of hot water in some cases. We know that Air Canada, WestJet, and Air Transat now, all three are suspending flights to the island and Caribbean and putting on some extra flights to get people home. It might be worth reviewing your Caribbean options, though, if you did have plans for Cuba. I was in Cuba a few years back. Had a great time. But certainly wasn't in the atmosphere and the climate that we're dealing with now. And I don't mean weather climate, that's for sure. It all stems, of course, from the U.S. onslaught against Venezuela. And it's affecting their oil exports, of course. No oil is, they're not letting any of the oil go from Venezuela to those other countries, whether it's Mexico and even Mexico provides some exports to Cuba, but even they are being interrupted by the U.S. now. So the uncertainty there, and just obviously trying to, what was I going to say? Texts and phones coming in at this time. Yeah, so I mean, if you're impacted by all that and have a tale to tell, you know the drill. Love to hear from you. We going to put a few calls out, of course. If you're even an agent, maybe a travel agent, and you want some advice to pass along, we're all over that. But certainly, if you were thinking about it, even if you're there, anyone that you know may be affected by all of this, do you have any comments you want to share, your thoughts or your experience? The experience, we're all over it. A couple of quick driving notes I wanted to mention, just coming in this morning. And I try not to go down this road, no pun intended, because it's just, it's like beating your head against a brick wall. But the high beams, I get it, dark roads, not a lot of lighting, but high beams coming at you on the Merchant Road or Topsa Road or Kenmount Road or even a small side road where there's plenty of lighting and people are just driving around all day with their high beams on. There's a whole discussion there about one thing, the high beams, but also the lights themselves, if you want to get into any of that, the custom ones that you see around, the blue ones that blind you. And another issue with that on driving, emergency flashers. Just want to remind everybody, that's not a license to deliver food, to stop in the middle of a lane and just lock her up, on go the emergency flashers, and out you go to deliver to the closest house nearby, all the while blocking the lane. Emergency flashers are just for that, emergencies, not food delivery or anything else that you think you want to lock her up and just put her there because that'll cover you. So just a few bees in my bonnet this morning and pet peeves and that kind of thing. Quick check on the Olympics. Canada now has 3 medals. Let's see, the latest just coming a few minutes ago. Claimed silver in the mixed short track speed skating relay to go with our 2 bronze thus far. Also in speed skating and slope style snowboarding. Still what I guess I would describe as, I think I called it yesterday, an underwhelming performance to date. But, it's arguably still early, only day 4, day 5 officially, although curling got going a week ago last Wednesday before the opening ceremonies. And it didn't do too well there. But the other curling is coming. And, of course, still a long way to go before we get to 26 medals that we compiled from the last Winter Games. Let's see. That said, all will be well, of course, if the men and women win gold in hockey or curling, I should say. All will be fine. That's all we need to do, and despite other performances that might cover us. So Canadian women notched their second win, by the way, on that note, looking pretty dominant. 5-1 win over Czechia in hockey yesterday. The bad news, and we don't know how bad really it is yet, but the best female player arguably in the game, for my money, and for most, Marie-Philippe Poulin, MPP, left the game with a leg injury, and she did come back to the bench, tried it out, did a few spins, but did not return to actually play in the game. Still no word if she'll be good to go for the game against arch rival Americans, who we play this afternoon around just after 3:30 Newfoundland time. And, of course, just 2 more sleeps before the men, led by Sid, not so much a kid anymore, Crosby. They hit the ice against Czechia themselves on Thursday. And I mentioned the drones yesterday. Apparently not all that well received. The drones now that are, they've had drones at the Olympics before, but now they're actually following the athletes, down, whether it's down the downhill or in the slope style or in the ski jumping, whatever it may be, in different venues. I heard a couple of athletes yesterday just a little bit taken aback by it. They don't expect it to be that close. They didn't expect them to be that close. And if you're watching any of it on TV, you can hear the whizzing of the drones as they fly the course. A little annoying for some, and some athletes have complained that, they create shadows on the ground and that sort of thing, messing up their depth perception, whether or not you're flying down the hill at 100 miles an hour or not. And so some of them saying a little bit too close for comfort. They weren't expecting it, throwing them off a little bit. You can imagine the preparation that goes into the work, and the prep that goes into before the Olympics. And then lo and behold, you got a drone following you about 10 feet above your head. A little bit of a distraction, I would say. So, it's wild. Can only watch for so long before I get dizzy, I mentioned yesterday. But it's pretty cool, and they also have video review in other sports and that sort of thing. So some nice tech changes, but athletes not thinking of it so much. And of all the stories coming out of these games, the medals themselves are apparently making news. Apparently the ribbons or the cords, or they're falling or they're failing or snapping off, and getting damaged and dented. The medals are when the ribbons, that hold them around the neck fall off. And that's, of course, because if you've won an Olympic medal, you're probably pretty excited. You're probably jumping up and down, as we've seen. But these ribbons or whatever apparently can't withstand it, and so they're looking into that. They're saying it's not the issue with the medals, saying now the issue is with the medals cord, of course, which is fitted with this breakaway kind of a mechanism, and that's required by, they say by law. The system's, it's designed to release automatically, if it's pulled with too much force, so it prevents the wearer from being choked, yada, yada, yada. So it's everything for a reason, but it looks like they're trying to find that sweet spot or the balance to make them secure enough without breaking away and getting damaged or lost, God forbid. So, and I did want to quickly mention, of course, that the Brier nearing quickly now. It's only, let's see, February, of course, the 27th starts. February 27th, no, 17 days. But they announced, of course, the teams yesterday are finalized. Team Canada with Brad Jacobs and Newfoundland Labrador's Brad Gougeau, of course, in his swan song here, retiring after this one. They're both in the same Pool A. That's going to be a time. That's all I can say about that. Just want to mention at the time that was the field and the pools are set for the Montana's Brier, which begin February the 27th here in St. John's. Okay, so I mentioned off the top yesterday the incidents over the weekend, the disturbances, if you will, down at HMP and the lockup downstairs in the old Supreme Court building. The RNC is opening an investigation now into all of that, or at least what happened at HMP Friday night. Department of Justice providing not a lot of details about what happened, although, as I said yesterday here on the show, I have at least a couple of sources who've given me some pretty consistent information when it's coming from 2 or 3 different sources who aren't communicating with each other, and it's all the same story. Things destroyed, problems with the sewage leaking. Apparently, I'm told that we're told that a correctional officer was assaulted, but I'm also told that an inmate got a good one too. So, again, there is going to be an investigation into what occurred there. Department says it's in a separate situation. Of course, the two were sent to hospital from the lockup Friday night. But they say it's under review by the captain of security at HMP as well as the head of the institution, which they say is standard policy. And we have put in requests, of course, to speak with the new Justice Minister, Helen Conway-Ottenheimer, which we did yesterday as well. Nothing back yet. Also like to ask about the civilian-led police oversight board. I can tell you how many times... Well, I can't tell you how many times, but I can tell you it was every time that I met with the former justice critic, now the justice minister, when she was in opposition. I'd say one of the first words out of her mouth would be the civilian-led police oversight board, how important it was to set it up, how important it was for the government to do the right thing. She and First Voice, the Indigenous leaders, and many other leaders calling for some kind of independence, civilian-led. No police on this actual board, just completely independent to review incidents, serious incidents involving the police. Now that Ms. Conway-Ottenheimer is a minister, however, there appears to be a change of heart, now saying it's premature to make that commitment. I think that was one word I heard her use. Other words, it's just not, they can't make that commitment right now, I believe. Well, either way, it's a far cry from of the position she had when she was in opposition. And I know things change when you end up on the government side, but we need some clarity on what's going on there and just the actual principle of it, needing a civilian-led. Does the minister still agree with the civilian-led only style of this oversight board? That's the other question. It may be necessary to delay it and to have discussions. I'm all about discussions and consultations, but we will see where that goes. It really throws into question the whole issue of what you can demand in the opposition, yet when you finally grab the reins of power, the tune can change. Certainly like to have a chat with the minister on that front just to see how much it has changed. A couple of other topics I'll throw out here. Speaking with Jamie Baker yesterday of the FFAW, among many others yesterday about the South Coast NCMA, the controversy over the proposed conservation area near Burgeo, and the MOU into the feasibility study, which is now cancelled by the Tory government, which the FFAW supports cancelling. Although I did hear yesterday or the day before Liberal MP Joanne Thompson and the Fisheries Minister describing it as a pause. That was her word she used, as opposed to the termination that the provincial government's using. So maybe a bit of a disconnect there. Pause is certainly not the same as elimination. And anyway, I spoke with Jamie in the morning, of course, on the show. And then by late afternoon, an announcement from the provincial government, Keith Sullivan has been named the new Deputy Minister of Fisheries and Aquaculture, the new department. And the key word there being aquaculture, because we know Mr. Sullivan, the years that he, I think almost 20 years with the FFAW, half of that almost as the president of the FFAW, long-time president. Then he left kind of suddenly, in our opinion. I mean, I was at the Scrum, the news conference, when he announced he was leaving. A lot of us felt it was premature and suddenly. We didn't even really know what that was all about. A couple of years after that, he resurfaced as head of the Aquaculture Association for the province, just over a year ago. So that's only a year into that. And, of course, we know that the NMCA this dispute is very much about the aquaculture industry. Make no mistake. If you want to really boil it down, this is how far can the aquaculture industry encroach into those waters from over near the Hermitage Way and Harbour Breton. So that was cancelled last week. And then lo and behold, the former executive director of the Aquaculture Association is named deputy minister this week. So, read into it what you will. Sometimes if it looks like a duck, you know how that goes. So it's certainly becoming a clearer picture of what it's all about. Also heard from Jenny Brake. Heard Jenny Brake yesterday, the head of the Halapu First Nation, also all upset with this, as well as the Salmonid Council opposition, not surprisingly. So we can get into any of that as well. And just one thing, I know I got a few callers there, and I always say if I've got callers, I'm going to shut the you-know-what up. So I wouldn't mind having a chat today with the president of the Nurses Union, Yvette Coffey, and that, of course, is about MUN's decision to cut the accelerated nursing program here at the St. John's campus. I heard her mention this yesterday, again, seemed to indicate no communication, completely blindsided by this decision. And you'd think in this day and age of needing nurses and not necessarily travel nurses, that this accelerated nursing program would be right, would be right for the picking, right what you need. Whether or not it's, cutting it from 4 to 3 years, assuming, obviously it would still provide all the necessary education and learning and qualifications that a nurse would need. But in any event, axing this certainly seems like part of MUN's work to make that place more efficient, on top of the tuition freeze and Harlow University and everything. But to not have any communication on this one at the nursing program with the president of the Nurses Union, again, I don't know whether or not consultation is as important to some as others. We hear it all the time, along with transparency, but God forbid. Anyway, the Nurses Union president, I know there's much more to that. MUN says, I think it's just 32 seats, and there wasn't big uptake, and it'll be distributed around. But again, some clarity and some reaction would be more than welcome on the program this morning. All right, Dave. Lots of callers in the queue. That's a beautiful thing. The yellow lights are all lit up for me. Let's see. Let's just take the first break of the morning and come back. Speak with who are we going to? We'll talk to Michael. Update on water in the apartment building right after your first break. And welcome back to the program for this Tuesday. Let's go right to line number 1. And Michael, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
I think we spoke last week, did we, about your apartment building in the center city area, maybe?
We talked on Thursday.
Okay, memory's not failing me yet. How are things? Any what update have you to share?
Well, one update is that City of St. John's was here Friday morning for only about 5 minutes, took some samples and left. They told me they were here all morning, which they wasn't.
So, Michael, this goes back just to remind the listening public as to what issues you're having there in the apartment building.
My tap water is not fit to drink. I can't take a shower. I throw it up from the smell. I can't wash my dishes because it stinks.
And so nothing has changed. They did show up last week, in the morning, and they were in your unit, and they took a sample, or what did they do?
Never took no sample from me. They only took a sample from the fire hydrant.
Okay, so they didn't come in the building that you know of?
No. They never come in. Never come into my unit or took no samples.
So did anyone communicate with you that is what they were doing, actually taking samples to test the water, or are you just you saw them at it and you're assuming, or?
I was assuming they were supposed to come into my apartment too and take some samples. That's what they told me.
Did you have any communication with the guys out there, or the girls?
Nope. I just looked at the window. I looked all morning until 10:30 come around, and that van, the City of St. John's van, showed up. When he took the samples, and they were here 5 minutes, and they took off.
A little bit of communication would have been good to know. Are they checking it? Are they going to get back there? Are they going to let you know? Is there a timeline for changes? Just refresh my memory, Mike, whether or not other people in the building are having the same issue.
Everyone's having problems here. They just won't speak up because they're afraid to get kicked out. I've been homeless for 27 and a half years. I'm not afraid to be kicked out.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I mean, I completely appreciate that 100%. You got a roof over your head this time of year. You're not going to risk it. But by the same...
I don't care. If I can't have clean drinking water, what's the point even living here?
Well, yeah, by the same token, you should be able to call a spade and problems with living there when you can. I mean, you can't just, you can't be expected to just clam up and live in it just because there might be a chance someone might take offense to it and kick you out. What do you sign in that particular building, Mike? Do you sign do you have a lease, or what's the deal?
I'm on a lease.
And how long is your lease for?
Whenever Dave feels like he wants to kick me out.
Well, I guess there are regulations in this land, but is there any actual fixed term on whatever you signed?
No.
Okay, and have you made any other attempts in any other way to get your water tested? Like, there are lots of, different facilities and services in the city.
I tried the nerve center down here in St. John's. I tried to get my worker to go down. They turned my worker down because they don't test city limits water, only well water. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning, I went outside my yard out here with a pot in my hand to get snow, to get drinking water.
And boil the hell out of it.
Yeah.
That's a new. Yeah. Well, listen. For someone who's never gone down to that site at the Miller Center at the old General Hospital to get water tested, which is where it happens. You're absolutely right with that. Did they give you any advice? I mean, the provincial government, obviously, the city.
They never told me where to go. They never told me where to go to get the water tested. They just turned it down. That was it.
And you didn't ask them where else you could go by any chance?
No.
So they will only test well water and not city water?
Yes.
Okay. I wish I were up to speed on all of that because I could give you exactly where to go. I'm going to investigate that one later today. But if there is anyone with the city, and of course, yeah, Dave mentions in my ear, municipalities, Newfoundland and Labrador. Anyone else has some suggestion for you? I don't know how long you're exposed to put up with this. In a perfect world, you could just call the owners of the building, the landlords, and say, look, my water is... Sorry?
They come in, they sniffed the water and left again and said there was nothing wrong with the water. They couldn't smell it. There's something wrong with their nose if they can't smell the water.
Does it come and go at all, or is it always constant?
I've been here almost 2 years in March. It's here all the time.
Well, Michael, I was hoping for a little bit more substantive update, other than the fact that they did come and do something. Maybe that's a sign that they're at least going to test it. But then again, if they've come in and smell it, that's one thing. That's not exactly testing it, to say the least, to find out what is in the water. I don't know what to, other than MNL and whoever can direct you or me or anybody else. Some of these topics I'm going to have to get myself up on, especially water testing.
If the landlords force me to drink the water, they should be forced too to drink the water.
Yeah, when they came in and smelled it, did they have a sip?
No. They just said there was nothing wrong with the smell or nothing.
Well, again, E. coli and all that stuff is ever present. You never know what could be in it, and you've been getting sick. So there is that public health laboratory at the Miller Center, or the regional service NL offices might. I think you can get testing kits there. Maybe it rings a bell. Let's see, for water quality analysis, there's laboratories, AGAT laboratories over on Sea Rose Avenue. There's various, private testing companies around the city, but you'd think that if there's a problem with your city water, either the city or the landlord have got to get on the same page and figure this thing out, right?
That's right. If you won the lottery and you decide to buy some apartments, it's your responsibility to fix the pipes, the plumbing, the electricity, and whatever else belongs to your apartment. Why can't they do that?
Well, maybe they're under the impression, maybe they disagree with you. Maybe they just disagree. And the only way... Or denial. I mean, obviously you don't want to have to fix something unless you really have to. And in this day and age, all of the costs add up for anyone owning property. I'm not saying that that's what's happening, but we do know that unless, there's something verifiable, and a test would do that, but maybe, some people don't want a test to show that, because then that means work, and that means fixing, and fixing costs money. Mike,
if they're getting over $1,000 for an apartment here, there's like almost 100 apartments as well. That should be costing them nothing.
It's, the only other thing is if there's more than one of you, they're not going to evict the whole lot of you. If you could somehow get together and, to try to just form some kind of, peaceful, calm approach to the landlord, at least the people who definitely have that smell and have that water quality, or lack thereof, I should say, in their units. I can't think of another issue, unless if the city's been over to have a look, then they're probably on it. I can't say that for sure, but anyone from the City of St. John's, Public Works, who can give me some direction on that, and whether or not there is an issue been identified, or whether or not they're in the midst of identifying whether or not there is an issue with it. But I know just because you're the only caller coming from that building, I don't necessarily just dismiss it as just you, but any other callers that could help us out with this. And look, there's power and strength in numbers, right? So that's where I'm going with it until we can find another solution. And I don't know if you should be expected to have to pardon me?
It's hard to fight a battle with just one person.
It is. And do you communicate with the other tenants in the building?
I do, but like I said, they're scared to speak up because they're afraid to get kicked out.
Yeah. Well, calls to 311, as was reminded to me last week, just to, stay on them, they add up. And, for the most part, I mean, you could just leave a message, at least they'll get, a hint of what's going on, and the more calls they get. But as I said, anyone with the city who can give me some direction here and let me know whether or not there is an issue trying to be drilled down into it. I don't think, as I was about to say, it should be on you or any of the tenants to have to go foot the bill for private water testing. I mean, that's going another level. This should be taken care of if there's an issue. Look, you have a property, you have an issue with it, the landlord should be there. The landlord's not there, you have the Landlord and Tenancies Act, the board, to make a complaint. And if you don't want to go down that route, you can always go the intermediary with the city and see if they can come to some push and shove with the landlord. Mike, I'm right at the break. Again, I was hoping for something a little more positive, but just keep me posted as to whether or not there's any improvement, even if it's the slightest.
Can I ask you another question?
Yeah, sure.
Can you ask people from St. John's, can they donate me some water?
Well, you just did. And when you say donate water, you mean have people drop off the gallons of it?
Yeah, water to my apartment.
Well, that's a wild request that you have to do that in this day and age in this city when you have a landlord that's supposed to be supplying water.
Yeah.
And again, you're at the Killam property there on Campbell Avenue?
Mount Pleasant Avenue.
Mount Pleasant, Campbell, right, that area. Well,
yeah.
There, I put it out there again. Maybe we can nudge the landlord to have a look. But no communication with the landlord, and the only communication you have had is that they don't smell and what you smell. Is that it?
That's right.
Okay, so I guess the only solution there is the next time they come around, get them to drink it. See if they'll drink it.
They won't.
Well, if they don't, that speaks volumes to me. Mike, keep us posted, eh? Sorry about what you're going through.
Oh, yeah.
Let me know if you hear anything back. And if anyone delivers any water to you there.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot. All right, Dave, off to the break. First break, second break in the morning. What am I saying? Right back. And welcome back to the show. Let's go right to line number 6. And Barbara Barter, chair of the Burgeo-Ramia National Marine Conservation Area Committee, and, of course, originally with the steering committee. Good morning. You're on the air, Barbara.
Good morning, Brian.
Good morning. I can only imagine what you're thinking, sitting back watching all of this. What was the very first reaction you had when news of termination of the MOU came out?
Well, I was very disappointed. We started this as the former mayor, Alistair Henn, said. Conversation started back in 2001. And Burgeo and Ramia in particular were working, very hard along the way to convince the provincial government to be a part of the plan. We always had the support of the federal government. But the provincial government generally was always saying, well, we're looking at aquaculture and mining exploration and those sorts of things. And, which is fine. I mean, I know you have to be able to develop industry for the whole province. But, in our case, what we were looking at was a federal protected area that would bring new federal investment into our community, support local infrastructure and create long-term employment and conservation and tourism and science and education and those types of things. So it would have guaranteed local involvement in management. And, our focus was on co-governance and coexistence and to support all industries. I mean, if you look at aquaculture, for example, in comparison to conservation, healthy oceans is the foundation of our coastal economy. whether it's fishing, whether it's aquaculture, whether it's conservation, doesn't mean a thing. They all depend on clean, stable, productive marine environments. And that was the intent of being keenly interested in an NMCA in this area. If we could work together through the process, then we could really secure both environmental protection and economic growth, and have that for centuries to come. And, so that was the plan. And unfortunately, it got blown out of the water again.
That very much mirrors the words that I heard from MP and Federal Fisheries Minister Joanne Thompson. A couple of things. She mentioned, first of all, that, the old, we should be able to do both. We should be able to find that common ground instead of this cancel culture. And as well, just speaking to, the importance of not... I don't know if the better, but she described this all as a pause, as opposed to a very different word than termination. You've been on the steering committee. You've been on top of this. You know all of the aspects. You know the entire context. What do you make of, say, the back-to-back announcement last week of the termination of the MOU, and then the appointment this week of the former FFAW president and executive director of the Aquaculture Association, Keith Sullivan, as the new deputy minister of fisheries?
Well, I don't know. I'm not a part of government, but Keith has swung on many pendulums, and as you said this morning, he was with FFAW, at which point in time he was concerned about aquaculture, and then he went with NOIA, where he was concerned about conservation, and now he's working at the government level as the deputy minister for aquaculture. So, I guess we all know why he's placed there, and government's intent. The last time I saw Tony Wakem's picture, he was standing behind saying no to the NMCA. So, we know where that's going at the provincial level, and I think that's very unfortunate, because one of the things that has happened in the last couple of years because of that stance is a division amongst communities. And, so you have the feds who were trying to unite us in a conservation area, down as far as McCallum for the study area, and then up past Grey River for the actual NMCA. The province is trying to split the communities and pit us one against the other, which is basically what happened if you listen to some of the commentary that was coming out of the southwest coast. And it's very clear that the government has chosen extractive industries over conservation rather than having them coexist, and has a person there who can do that type of job. So it's sad, really, to hear that. Quite personally, I never ever thought I would see that in Mr. Wakem.
What did you expect to see from Mr. Wakem, and why? And what was it that he said or did that made you feel that way?
Well, his overall, I guess, propaganda. He used the NMCA as one of his election promises, and then when he came out with his report, he came out with one that was, to me, very clearly a Trumpism. The slogans that he had, promise made, promise kept, and checking after things that he was, closing down. And, so that creates a bitterness in me, I guess, personally, to watch the man do that, because I've known him outside of his premiership. He's from the West Coast. I've been at meetings, with him, and I always held him in high regard. But what I expected, I think, was leadership. And rather than take sides and sit down and talk with people, but that didn't happen. He took sides immediately during the election. So here we are. waiting to see, what happens. I mean, we know we have the support of the federal government, and we've always had the support of the federal government, even though this was not federally driven. If you talk to any of the mayors or councillors of Burgeo, you'll find that there was always a committee for an NMCA. Every time elections came around and we formed, a new council, when our committees were set up, the NMCA was always a committee in some shape or form. And, so it was the town of Burgeo that pushed this. The federal government didn't push it on us. Every chance we got, we wrote the province and the feds. And every chance we got, we did a PowerPoint presentation to the new representatives in government as each government turned over. So, it was very definitely a community-led initiative. And, so I would expect the Premier, maybe I'm an idealist, but I would have expected the Premier to look at that and to talk with us and not put us in a checkbox.
I was going to say, it's tough to be an idealist these days, Barbara. I'll tell you that much. And a realist, and anything else along those lines. And you mentioned, pitting communities against each other, and it's also pitting industries against each other. And the minute aquaculture came into this conversation, I tell you, I spent just a few years hosting another show called The Fisheries Broadcast a few years back. And, every day it was a battle between the opponents of aquaculture and the proponents for aquaculture, and that whole South Coast is ripe with that kind of back and forth right now, and infighting, and just the same old thing, God forbid the day comes when aquaculture can find a way to be efficient enough or profitable enough to go on land and get out of the wild waters, which concern a lot of conservationists, to say the least, whether, from the effects of aquaculture, open pen versus on land. We know one is safer than the other, but not necessarily economical. So that's why we're here we are in some small aspects. But, Barbara, look, I only because of the time, I'll just give you a minute to clue up. I don't know where you see this all going. It seems like everything is on hold now, and any pots of federal money and infrastructure funding and all these other pots of money that the feds could have offered toward economic development in that area, everything is on hold now, pending whether or not some big industries can come and make a better argument for more economic diversification.
Well, I guess my hope is that the dialogue will include consideration of trust being rebuilt, as Minister Thompson indicated, and whether that's the original intent of the MOU, or whether it's something that's different to appease all of the groups, is what I'm hoping for. What I'm anticipating is that the province is going to suggest that we become provincial reserves, and we've already experienced that. I mean, we have King George IV Lake in on the highway. We have the Big Barrowsway Wildlife Reserve that was brought in 1992. But the province, the province doesn't put anything into that. They don't invest in it. They name it and then they walk away. So there's no monitoring. There's no development. So they're just there, and that doesn't conserve, and neither does it help for economic sustainability. So
absolutely,
I'm hoping that when he meets with the mayor and the town manager or whoever meets with him, that they're thinking more along the lines of what is it at the federal level that we can put in this area that's going to support the development of both conservation and tourism, which has been our focus.
Absolutely. I'll steal Minister Chris Hibbs' own words in signing off. Just saying he said himself there should have been more collaboration this time. There should have been more meat on the bone, I guess, to where industry could feel comfortable with the decision. He says there's a balance across this province for conservation and industry. Unfortunately, it did not work in this particular area at this time, referring to the MOU that's been cancelled. So there's his own words. Barbara, thanks for the call. Please keep us updated. Anything you're hearing, hopefully, whatever happens, it'll be an all-out collaboration with every organization and every group that has anything to say and any horse in the race. Thanks so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you, Brian.
Take care. Okay, Dave, let's take that break. Right back with several mics right after the break. Welcome back to the program. Let's go right to line number 4. And Inez, you're on the air.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
I was calling about how would I go about getting the income tax forms?
Okay.
Because I don't have no access to online or anything.
Well, certainly for starters, there is. Let's see, where can we start? You could start at the income tax facility itself, the building, the income tax center, which is located on Empire Avenue here in St. John's. I mean, they would have them physically. You have no way of online access whatsoever? Anyone could help you with that, or?
No.
Oh, well, that would be your first step. Any federal office should be able to direct you in the right place. But Dave just mentioned Mayor Service Canada, of course. The Income Tax Center, of course, is on Empire Avenue. And I've walked in there before to drop off my forms rather than take a chance with the mail. And there are the basic forms there, like the T1 package, the TD1 personal tax credit return. Do you know what form you need? Like, what situation you're in?
It's the form that we do every year.
Right, but
I don't know what kind of form.
Okay.
It's like it's in a book, right?
Yeah, it sounds like you just need the general tax form just for your T4s, and you don't have a complicated one by the sounds of it. There's always, and geez, I'm not sure now, Dave, if the service that's provided by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Newfoundland, they have a free tax service at various offices in the city. And I'm wondering if they actually have the forms. But Service Canada on Hebron Way here in St. John's, they are your all, passports and the whole deal. I've got my passport down there last year, but they have all services. So if you have no access online, I can give you, I dare to give you a phone number because God knows you could be all day just waiting on that. If you can, do you have transportation or a mode of transport that you can get around? And
no.
That's another issue. What part of are you in St. John's or?
No, I'm live in Clark's Beach.
You're on your Clark's Beach. Anyone in town that can pick up a form for you and maybe coming back and forth to Clark's Beach? Or, as you said, maybe not access to online. Do you have a computer of some kind in the house?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so it looks like you need physical papers and someone to pick them up for you. What did you do last year again? Like for your own, how did you file last year?
I had it come in the mail.
Okay. Are you getting it in, and you're not getting it in the mail this year for some reason?
No, I called the 1-800 number, and I can't get I can't get through to them. Like they're saying that the office is temporarily closed. I called between Monday to Friday, but I can't get through to them.
Yeah, that is going to forever and a day be an issue with trying to contact the federal government, let alone tax people at this time of the year. Let's see. There is a suggestion that if you can't get through on the phone, there is a chance that they may. I mean, when you've been on the line, have you been given an opportunity for them to call you back? Like, do they say, if you can't stay on the line, just we have your phone number and we'll give you an automatic call back? No.
No.
Well, and you say you have the 800? Do you have that number in front of you? What 800 number do you have?
The
Okay. Yeah, dealing with taxes this time of year. It's too bad.
It's 1-800-959
8281. That's the one. That's the one. That's going to be your stopgap. That's your all-service number, unless you can physically get to a Service Canada building or here at Hebron Way, or somebody can pop by for you. It's strange, though, if you haven't changed addresses and nothing has changed on your personal profile since last year. You'd get the package at some point, but is it possible you might still get the package? When did you get it last year?
I can't remember when it was. I don't know if it was in March.
I think you might have got it before then, only because, the end of April 1st is the deadline to file taxes, so that would give you not a lot of time to be able to file them. I would suggest, you've certainly got a phone, so I think the only way, at least, you may have to be the most patient person in the world and stay on that line until you actually reach someone. So you can at least advise them that you're having trouble. If for some reason you end up being late, you don't get penalized for it. You want to at least make a totally different subject, but as I was just saying to the previous caller, communication is everything. So it may be a pain in the you-know-what, but I would stay on that line, keep with that number, be patient, and charge your phone if you have to, unless you got a landline, and then just stay by it and hang tight until you get an actual voice on the phone. If you follow the prompts, sooner or later, someone will answer that call. And given that you're limited in your other options, that would be my advice at this point, unless somebody has other.
Okay, then thank you.
That's your number. Good luck. And Inez, if you have any success either way, or you've run into any other problems, give us a shout, and maybe we can find somebody who's going to Clark's Beach, and we can come up with somebody can print off a T1 package for you, and we can get it out to you in worst case scenario. But it's still early February, so no time to really go panic yet. Who knows? Maybe you'll still get it in the mail, but then that's the mail, right? So no offense to our great carriers, but we know what Canada Post has gone through in the last while.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, well, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, keep us posted. All right on 10 o'clock for the news. Let's see, coming back, we've got lots of great callers. Great to see. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the program. Just a reminder, too, I'm getting a couple of texts about other things that are in the news. Obviously, if I have callers, I'm going to keep going. But yes, south of the border, what can you say? You could have a headline on the Trumpisms every day. The latest on the bridge, the Gordie Howe Bridge. All over it if you want to discuss that. The alternative to the 100-year-old Ambassador Bridge. And now Trump saying he's not going to let it open on his side because, we owe the Americans again. Well, first of all, we paid the $7 billion for the bridge. Yes, there's American steel involved in it. And oh, my God, you never know what's coming out of his mouth next. Instead of that, let's go to a much more relevant and close to home caller. Let's go to Mary on line 3. You're on the air.
Oh, good morning. Thanks for taking my call.
You're very welcome.
Just want to speak towards some of the horrific, traumatizing calls that you've had regarding care in the healthcare system, and directly related to that, we also heard that the present government is celebrating its 100th day in office and outlining some of its achievements. The one thing that I was looking for that I didn't hear was the government or the Minister of Health announcing an independent oversight health agency to help individuals in investigating and getting answers to their issues. Now, if we do not get an agency that can do that and have a mandate to investigate and hold individuals and or the system accountable, there's never going to be any change. The only way to improve what is happening in the system, as a result of no mechanism to hold anybody accountable or to investigate, as a result, there's a creeping abuse, disrespect, and incompetence that permeates every aspect of the health system. The patients, you and I, where if you sit there for not long enough, you will see that we are considered inconveniences to their schedule. And as some people will say, they complain, then they say, but the staff was great. Well, I can tell you, not all staff are great. And what distinguishes the great ones, and God bless them, is the fact that, I mean, they all learn their rules and regulations. However, to be great, I mean, what you have to do is apply common sense to the unique human situation that's on hand. Now, the agency that would investigate those things are similar to what you said, that they're the civilian-led oversight police board. I mean, something has to happen to improve the situation that is ongoing. I mean, you look at the mental health. Well, my God, the stories in the last few days, I mean, they're horrific. I don't know what has changed, because I know at one time the police, instead of putting people in jail, they would be the ones that would take them to the Waterford, and at least they'd have an assessment. I mean, the situations that are, and this is what we're hearing. That's only the tip of the iceberg in the mental health issue. You also have issues in the long-term care system. And without going into any kind of specifics, I mean, look at the Auditor General's report. I mean, the neglect, abuse, incompetence, no one, as far as I know, has been held accountable for any of that. And there was even a case that the Auditor General identified as criminal, possibly criminal case. I mean, like when are we going to be treated with respect? And this is only a tip of the iceberg. Like, how many of the public are aware that in the long-term care system today, the Adult Protection Act that's supposedly in place to protect adults, that has been weaponized against relatives that complain. And it also protects abusive staff. I mean, you can't get anybody to look at it. And 3 departments involved. I mean, Department of Health, Department of Justice, Department of Social Services, and then Healthcare Agency. And they're all, and there's a disconnect between all of them, and who's suffering? The elderly that's in the long-term care system that don't have a voice. I mean, and you can look at every sector, even in the emergency, which you and I go to every day. Or not every day, but I mean, whenever we go, I mean, you hear anything you ask the healthcare system on, there's privacy, there's confidentiality. Well, okay, you go to the emergency. No matter how sick you are, you got to stand behind the line. When you get in there, when you get in through the triage door, there's big windows. Everyone can gawk at you to see what you're having done. And then you're recycled back to the waiting room again to wait for another 12 or 14 hours. And then by the time, and then they come out and they call out your name. Now, where's the privacy or confidentiality in that? And the new clinic is the same way down at, and it'll always be the old Costco to me, whatever you call it. The
Me
old
too.
place down there, the old Costco.
Me too.
So, I mean, that's the simplest directions to give anybody.
To avoid all the confusion, we all know the old Costco.
Yes, but I mean, the public. I mean, it's time that the public has an independent oversight advocacy agency to help them on an individual basis. At this point in time, there is nothing that exists in the system for a person to go to get help.
The only I can suggest, and Mary, like the issues are wide and ranging and varied, just like every health organization around the country and worldwide. You mentioned just a couple of things really quickly because I got to get to the break, but there is, of course, the NL Health Services Patient Relations. I say that with a straight face. There's an email, patient.relations@nlhealthservices.ca. All complaints and everything. They have an online feedback about your care, patient relations. And, of course, there is the Office of the Citizens Representative, the Ombudsman for all things. But, when you're talking about healthcare, I can only imagine the files already on the desks over there that if you just added the healthcare to the lot, boys, the workload.
Oh, okay, but just make two quick comments.
Sure.
Okay, regarding the citizens representative, no, their mandate do not cover the health system. Okay, been there, done that. And then the patient relations, surprise, surprise, yes, you will get an automatic reply back from them, and then eventually what will happen to you, you will be referred back to the department where you had the problem from in the beginning. So the patient relations just recycles you back into the system.
The vicious circle.
And I can tell you the system is designed to protect itself, and its motto seems to be, deny, delay, and dismiss. And then, God forbid, if what you're complaining about or who the care is complaining about too, then the person dies, well, then they quite happily tell you, well, the person has deceased and the case is closed.
And that has happened.
I mean, that's what we're living in, and I think it's time that the public, get some respect from a system that you and I are funding.
Absolutely, Mary.
Okay, and then we're allowing this to go on.
And we need more voices like yourselves because, unfortunately, that's what's heard. These issues, they aren't, they're not in a vacuum. It's going on and on and on. We have more and more calls like that, and we know the reality and the work they're trying to do. I still put a call out there to Dr. Pat Parfrey, the former CEO of NL Health Services. If he'd like to weigh in at all, I'm sure he'd have some interesting observations about where this is all going, especially in light of the health code, which was supposed to flip the switch and get us on a better road to the social determinants and just better overall living. Mary, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Anyone else with the similar sentiment, and I know there are many out there, welcome your call. Let's get off to the break. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to the program. Just a quick note on Inez, who called earlier about trying to get some income tax forms, and we were making some suggestions. In a moment, my brain is a fog, but of course, my friend Mike reminded me that some post offices still have tax forms individually. I just checked around. Not everybody has them, but some may, and the Bay Roberts office may have tax forms right there, as well as any of the, the private return offices, H&R Block, and these, they have some spears lying around that they might welcome to hand out, and may even suggest that they do it for you in return. Who knows? And one other phone number that you can call if you're trying to get a paper copy as well, 855-330-3305. Again, that's those income tax reforms. Those are not just the basic one of that number. You should be able to get a hold of anyone, a paper copy through that service, 855-330-3305. Let's go right to line number 4. And William, you're on the air.
Yeah, I found out about the church. Buddy called me. I called Buddy,
William, before you go on, because you can't always assume that the listeners know exactly what we're talking about. You're talking about the church in Harbour Mill that we discussed last week,
yes.
Correct? And you're worried that it's you're worried that it's going to go away to nothing.
Yes, I was talking to the fellows in church, and I offered him $2,000. He told me to make an offer, and I offered $2,000, and he said, yes, I'll sell it to you for $2,000. He said, but you got to pay the lawyer fees. I said, all right. And I had a chance to sell my house, and I was going to sell the house of mine, and he called me back 2 hours after, and he said, I can't say to church, he said, because the contract's gone through to tear it down, and I can't get out of it. He said, that cost me money. And that's ridiculous. Going to tear down that nice church. That did me heart's ripped out, man. I didn't want to lose that church. What's the world coming to? First he took the religion out of school, and now they're tearing down churches.
When did he say that they're going to give her the old wrecking ball or whatever they're going to do? It'll probably a front-end loader.
This week.
This
Supposed
week?
to take it down this week.
In the dead of winter. What's the hurry this time of year?
I don't know. That's what I was saying, too. Yeah, but I tried to stop him. I didn't have a chance to sell my house to buy it. And I was the tower. They said that the side is coming off the tower and it hit somebody's house and because it's riding. But, I mean, I would have paid somebody to take the tower off, right? So
the fellow you're talking to that you offered $2,000 to, he actually owns the property?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, he can get...
He owns... He's part of the minister or something. And he called me back 2 hours after and said he couldn't sell it. Because he said the contract has already gone through and it costs money or something.
Did he ask for more money for the property? Because money talks, and the answer to all your questions is money. I'm sure if you'd up the price maybe a bit, I'm not sure you can afford to do that, but do you think he was looking for a little bit to sweeten the offer?
I'm not sure, see? I'm not sure if he was or not, but he said he couldn't get out the contract. That's what he told me.
Well, he owns the property. I'm sure he can, I don't know what kind of massive operation they're running there, but... and I can't speak for it. Maybe he does have some kind of a contract, but it seems strange that he would say yes, and then only a couple hours within that. I guess he went and checked with the demolition. And well, William, keep us posted on it.
Yeah.
Let me know if they actually take it to it, or if you decide to go chain yourself to it and try to save it yourself. I'm just joking, of course. Please don't do that.
Yeah. No, I know.
But we've seen it done in the past, people who are pretty, no pun intended, religious about their property. Keep us posted.
I was pretty upset over it, but I couldn't sleep for nothing. Yeah.
I can understand, right? It's right there, and you had a shot at it. I don't know. Maybe you should go back to him and just see if there's a price that he would be willing to stop the demolition with.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, give it a shot anyway, and let me know how it works out.
All right. Okay,
thanks, William. Appreciate the call. Thanks. Keep posted.
Have a good day.
All right, you too.
Yeah, I will. Okay, bye.
All right. Thanks. Stay up to date with that one there on William. Let's go to line number 1. And Cyril, you're on the air.
Yes, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Yes, I'm calling in about the roads out there in this area out there. I'm out there in what they call the Southwest Dime.
Yes, sir.
We leave Northwest Brook and go to Southport.
Right.
And the roads is in, especially leaving Southport to go to the Transcannon there, we got about, we go so far as Capelin Cove, and high roads keep staying and have a truck there, and we're the first to get down here in the morning. And for one time the snow clearing, that truck would only go up so far and meet another one coming down, but that don't happen anymore. But anyway, getting back to the roads, and we got a loop around here. I live here in Gooseberry Cove, and the roads is just tore up. There's places that the pavement is gone just about into the yellow line. We got dozens of places that maybe there's 100 or 200 feet of pavement. Well, when you get to the holes, you don't know which way to turn.
Yeah.
And this road has been deteriorating for the last 10 years. The condition of the road never happened since the PCs got in. It was deteriorating for the 10 years that the Liberals was in. The only thing we got down there in the 10 years that the Liberals was in, we got our guide rail down there done, and that was that bad. We had like 20, 30 lengths of guide rail slapped down on their side. It got that dangerous, I guess, for the bus running and everything, that they fixed it up there a couple of years ago. And another place down in Southport, there was a bit of side of a hill down there. They had a lot of, over the years, engineers come and look at it. Every now and then they would have rocks tumble down, so they did some work there. Well, if they didn't do it, maybe there might have been a disaster. So anyway, that's the only things they've fixed up down there. We never got no actual work. A couple of times, some of those real bad places, like they put a bit of top, like they just paved over the holes and stuff. Yeah. They done a couple of them down there. But like I said, we haven't had anything done down here. There's Well, all the while the Liberals was in, especially the first couple of years, we hardly got any coal patch in that. So that's what they've been doing now for the last few years. And I mean coal patch, because even times we don't live very far from Glenville, and a big construction company up there, they got the asphalt plant going all year long, and I see them down there last year with coal patch, and you'll even go to Glenville, and the smoke was coming out of the out of the plant up there. You know, I couldn't understand why we and lots of times you see them down there and in the afternoon with the hot patch, and they went out to Bay Roberts somewhere or another and got it, and like when the place something Glenville was open.
Yeah, it's one thing to be trying
to. I don't know what they were at, but anyway, our road now down there, you can't travel nighttime. Like if
you're blind, it's blind, right?
Yeah.
It's what is it? Just playing dodgeball with potholes.
Yes. Well, up there, right next to our school, there's been a place there. They've been there for probably 30, 40 years now. That the bus practically stops there and nurses over it. Like, you know, and it wasn't fixed. Like, you know what I mean? Especially all the while the Liberals was in, they could have done something with it. And now, just 100 feet above that, there's a massive, it must be 100, 200 feet long now. And like I said, that when you get there now, you don't know which way to turn the wheels to get through it.
To have the least amount of damage to your undercarriage. You know, coal patch, look, you know, trying to fill potholes in the dead of winter and the kind of weather we got out there today, it's a fool's errand, there's no question. It don't matter how good the mix is, it don't matter how good the gravel was from the quarry. The mix is the mix, and that's why you see sandbags thrown in a lot of these potholes just to try to cushion the blow, you know. And when you got a bus that's got to haul up solid in order just to navigate around it. And it's such an exposed area of the province, you know, right out on the tip, Trinity Bay like that. You know, up by, let's see, I think you're, about 20, 25 kilometers north, east of Little Heartsease? You know, up northeast.
We're there, Little Heartsease. No, there's only like half a dozen kilometers, and you're down there to Gooseberry Cove.
That's right.
You turn off... when you leave Goobies going towards Glenville, just up the road, we turned there north was Brook.
Right.
And you got a rift of small communities, Long Beach, Hodges Cove, Little Heartsease. That's a fairly long community. Well, that's where the depot was. I won't call it a depot, but the older truck and everything there for sanding the roads. From one end of that community to the other is not only a rift of potholes.
Cyril, I think it's probably, only because of the time on the clock, I got to get to break, but I think it's probably time for a little update with the Transportation Minister on how the recruitment's going for snowplow operators and how the numbers are. I know there was some dispute over, you know, benefits or salary discrepancies, you know, from one level to another last week. I'm hoping they got that. Maybe a little update from the Transportation Infrastructure Minister sometime soon might be helpful with this case. Sir, keep us posted. I got to get off to the break. One last comment.
Yes, I like to phone in about that. In the future, now I don't know what this government is going to do, but I know what the Liberals was at and how they got to hire someone or did not hire someone for while they were in.
Yeah, one thing we do know about roads is that honestly, one government to the next, everyone will criticize. They say, you know, the years-long dispute and partisan politics over what gets paved and what gets filled. You know, I mean, it works both ways every time. It never matters which government's in power. Cyril, thanks for the call. Keep us posted on if there's any progress, and if you see any of the asphalt that's dumped into those potholes, any if it seems to take, that'd be great news too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the call. All right, Dave, off to the break. Let's see, Leo and Mike coming up. And welcome back to the program. Halfway point, really, kind of, for a Tuesday. A gross old mozzie mess of a Tuesday out there. Let's go right to line number 6. And Leo, you're on the air.
Good morning, Brian.
Good morning. How are you?
Not too bad at all. Great job you're doing filling those big shoes.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm just calling about the issue surrounding aquaculture down on the south coast and the National Marine Conservation Area that's in play.
Yes, sir.
And the point I want to make is that, the decision that's been made by the Premier is to, forestall any of the really, really significant investment that would be made in that area by the federal government. You only have to think about, what was done on the Northern Peninsula for the Grossmore National Park. And you're talking, that's a comparable kind of expenditure and infrastructure that would be going into that area, and of course it's all based on conservation and protection. So it would be almost a guarantee that that area of the South Coast would get, a tremendous shot in the arm financially and, practically from all good points of view.
And if that's the case, Leo, why do you think it's gone south? No pun intended.
Well, that's a good pun. I think the reason it's gone south is because the governments, it's not just the new government, the PC government, but the Liberal government also was in the same position. They're over a barrel. They've got to try every possible maneuver, to create a bit of employment. And in the case of Premier Wakeham, I think he's shooting himself in the foot. But, he's saying, I told you I was going to shoot myself in the foot, and here I am doing it, so give me points for that. Anyway, I don't want to get into the politics side of it. The point I want to make is that aquaculture is not the answer. We've had 40 years or more of aquaculture, going right back to the early 80s. And we've had disaster after disaster after disaster. In 2019, which is within everyone's memory, we had 2.6 million salmon perish down there. The industry calls it, mass mortality. But we had the same thing this past summer. We had over 2.1 million salmon die up to just before Christmas, there in December. And the final count is not in, but when the records are available for 2025, it's going to show that there were mass mortalities in 2025 that were comparable to what happened in 2019 when 2.6 million salmon died. So this industry is anything but a secure industry that brings in wealth and stability and sustainability. It doesn't do any of those things. It's a dirty industry, and unfortunately, the province is stuck with having to take the few crumbs that these big Norwegian companies are putting down on the table.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, look, as I said, I've got some history with this. I've been dealing with issues around, say, infectious salmon anemia, ISA. That's the fatal viral disease that affects farmed Atlantic salmon, and that the salmonid councils and others who promote fresh, fin fish, the industry, outside of aquaculture for years and years, they don't help. The industry sometimes doesn't help itself with the coy, and like you just said, the words of mass mortality. Instead of just coming out and saying we lost 1,000 fish yesterday or something like that, the words they use, it doesn't help the cause communication wise. It's just kind of veiled sometimes. It doesn't acknowledge the risks that have been there over the years. And the most important part of all of this, getting to land-based fish farming as opposed to wild ocean fish farming, where the obvious risks remain and impacts on farms, not just in Canada, but Norway, Chile, Scotland, you name it.
Yeah, it would be great if that side of the industry could prosper here in Newfoundland, like the land-based industry. But the unfortunate facts are that the markets are not here. The inputs to the industry in terms of the food, that has to be, fed to the salmon, and the equipment that needs to be used, the nets, and so on. All of that has to be brought in. And then, at the end of the process, assuming that you're able to run it for 4 years to grow a fish from an egg to a marketable product, during that time, without suffering these mass mortalities, you got to ship the product out again to the United States, down to the northeast area of the United States before you get a market. Like, none of that fish that's produced here is actually consumed in Newfoundland and Labrador.
And look, I'm not anti-aquaculture. I see the value, the sustainability issues, especially when we come to, food and availability, security of food, security, you name it. I'm not opposed to it, but I've been a journalist covering this industry long enough to see the back and forth and the tug and pull and the to and fro between those opposed and those in favor of aquaculture. And this is always the same issues. And when I ask the question, it's cost prohibitive for land-based aquaculture. And it's been cost prohibitive for 25 years. I mean, what's going on?
Yeah, well, the reason it's cost prohibitive is because in the model that the government allows the industry to practice, all of the pollution, all of the negative environmental impacts are absorbed by us. The industry doesn't have to pay 1 cent to ameliorate any of that. So all of you only got to visualize what's happening. You've got a cage, which is one of about 10 cages in a farm, that has 80,000 salmon in it, and these salmon could be as big as, 12 pounds each. And you can imagine what's happening. The sewage that's laced with all the drugs and chemicals that go along with, trying to keep those fish healthy, is just settling down into the ocean bed. So that's the reason why a conservation area, a marine conservation protected area, would not be able to have aquaculture within its borders, because it recognizes, that that's an extremely negative environmentally, and therefore they just don't allow it.
Yeah, and there's these protection zones as well, as opposed to impact zones. I was reading some of these voluminous documents yesterday, but there is such a thing as a PEZ, like the protected area zone. Then there's an impact zone. There's all kinds of proposals for 1 kilometer away to protect the area that's been protected. Look, it gets so deep into the weeds, and I'm right on a break. Let me give you, Leo, just a minute there to wrap up. Sorry.
Well, to my mind, our province has a tremendous opportunity right now. We have a Minister of Fisheries and Oceans who's from here, a member of the present government in Ottawa. She's spoken out publicly in support of the National Marine Protected Area, at least to the extent that it should be evaluated by all of the parties involved. So it's a great opportunity for the south coast of Newfoundland and for the province in general. And to have the provincial government come out and just slam the door shut and say, no, I said I was going to close the door, and here I am closing it, so give me credit for that.
Yeah, gotcha.
Unfortunately, it's an extremely short-sighted point of view.
Yeah, absolutely, and the opinions are wide and varied, many with your very opinion and others with completely opposing. So, we welcome them all. If they're not going to have the full collaboration of all the organizations in a room, maybe we can have it here on Open Line. Thanks, Leo. Appreciate the call.
Okay, thanks, Brian.
Thank you for the opinion. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. All right, Dave, off to the break. Mike and Gerard after the break. Come back to the program. Let's go right to line number 2. Mike, you're on the air.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
I'd like to comment on the Liberals' statement last week about the dismissal of the CEO of Eastern Health and the appointment of, supposedly, according to them, a PC supporter.
Sure.
Now, I don't know what exactly is going on there, because the Liberals just before the election knew that a fellow was going, a deputy minister, and they got him transferred to Hydro, or somehow or other, however they worked it. And these jobs have given it to their buddies and that and whatever. I don't know if the two parties are equal into it or what, but I disagree with the appointment of this the CEO or anybody from the Board of Trustees with Eastern Health or Central Health or whatever you mind to call them now, the Newfoundland Health Services. Anyway, all over the years, this person was a member of the Board of Trustees. He signed off on a contract with the Compass Group that undermined our healthcare system, is still undermining it, putting us up for blackmail, bad choices and that. All of these scandals that are going on, they're all affiliated with it, all from the Compass Group. The billions of dollars leaving this country, our healthcare is in the state that is in. And to me, this Board of Trustees should be all disbanded and thrown out, not just one of them. Like, I'll give you an example in the Compass contract. One of the board members of the Board of Trustees, they gave an amendment to the Compass contract to give the Compass Group, one of their affiliated company that they own down in the southern states, hundreds of thousands of dollars for developing a program to have it so that university students will go in on that and order the food in the restaurants and that and have it ready, and hoping that it would apparently come into it that the people in the hospital, under pretense that people in the hospitals will be able to use an app and order their meals, which is preposterous. But stuff like this done, and the government didn't have the money, so the Compass Group loaned the money to the government for something that is not existent. And stuff like this going on, and this board members, the whole works from, like we talk about our healthcare system and that. There's where it all originates. If we don't, we got to have a clean sweep of all these government appointments that are based solely on friendships and not based on somebody to properly do the job. As far as I'm concerned here right now, there is nobody in the Newfoundland and Labrador Health Services that should qualify in any which way with the running of Eastern Health. They've shown that they can't do it, and a number of times with all the scandals and everything else. And the whole works is related to the Compass Group, who's ruthless. I'll take every cent that they can get. They're as greedy as whatever it comes. Their contracts are illegal. They're confidential and hidden, not released to the people, and not gone over by a corporate lawyer or any kind of a lawyer or anything to determine, contractual lawyer, to see if they're legal or if they're not legal or whatever, or what they are in the benefits of Newfoundland. All of this is all being done and hidden by the Board of Trustees, these people at the top. And as far as I'm concerned, giving anybody in this department the authority to have the CEO's job, as far as I'm concerned, is totally, totally wrong. And if the PCs are going to follow down the same path as the Liberals and giving out these jobs and doing the same thing, PCs doing the same thing as what the Liberals did, well, we're on the verge now of taking this contract back in court. And depending on what the PCs does and the budget and that and whatever, we're going to take it to the Supreme Court. Let the Supreme Court rule onto it.
Yeah, because it's impossible to adjudicate it here on open line. And look, it's a cyclical situation, to say the least, Mike. Each government is accused of lining the boards and lining their pockets and everything else. You know, you're going to get it every single time. You say you hope it doesn't continue under the PCs. Obviously, with the departure of Dr. Parfrey, you wanted the most experienced people that were still with, on that, in charge, pulling the strings, who know how to implement, say, for example, C-Corps, which is about to, that's about to be launched, and all the training and everything that has to do with that. They're hoping, let's hope. We can only hope for a seamless transition to the next, for the next budget and beyond, because with the 10-year health accord still trying to be rolled out, you hope for an uninterrupted, seamless transition. And with the people with the know-how who know what's already happening there, rather than gutting, I'd be wary of gutting the whole system, bringing in all fresh new faces who have to get up to speed on all of these things, much like some new ministers have to get up to speed. At least they have the deputy ministers on their side. Mike, I'll give you one more quick comment just before, I've got to squeeze in one more call before 10 o'clock. Go for it.
Well, what you're talking about, there's so many degrees of the different things going on into the healthcare services. What I'm talking about here, the Compass Group's involved with the infrastructure.
Sure.
Not the day-to-day things with getting appointments and that and whatever. So here's where the problem is, too, that a lot of these people don't know what's going on, don't care what's going on, and won't look at it. And when you're talking about a 500 or 600 page contract involving the Compass Group, then people are not reading it. People don't know what's into it. You know, we're being blackmailed by these people that we can't get rid of them out of the restaurant business serving the food because they got a patent on a valve there that if they takes it out, the government's got no right to it. Also, the government got no right to third-party invoices that they're skinning us on. Excuse me, that they're skinning us on and taking out the highest kind of profits, no tendering, no local stuff being bought for supplies for the hospitals. Everything is all done in every which way.
Are you saying
to make a profit for these people?
Did you just say there's no supplies being bought for hospitals?
Locally. I'm talking local produce. Chicken, turkey, vegetables, bread. Bread is coming in from the mainland. Put all kinds of preservatives into our hospitals. There's nothing being bought here. Everything that's bought is ordered by the Compass Group for the most profit by the Compass Group, not on anything kind of a budget or anything else. They don't care about how much it costs, what it costs over, or where it can be supplied here or not. So we're shooting ourselves in our own foot by saying, oh, buy Newfoundland or whatever, or support Newfoundland businesses and that, whatever. They'll support China and anything else. The chicken is coming in from Korea into our hospitals in different countries and that and stuff. They're importing food.
Well, with the whole...
And here we are with a chicken farm.
Mike, with a wholesale change of government, you mentioned that the Premier shoot himself in the foot by continuing on. We'll see. It's early days. Budgets are coming. By the looks of it, wholesome, fulsome reviews of everything in government. So you have to believe that if they believe half iota of the allegations, I'll call them, because when we start talking blackmail and that kind of stuff, I'm wary, only because it can't be proven here and we don't have the other side of the story.
Yes, it can. It can be proven because it's written in black and white in the contract.
Yeah, it can be proved. But you know what, Mike? A contract gets before a court in a dispute, and there's no more black and white. There's interpretation of contracts, and you know it as well as I do. Otherwise, we'd never have a strike in this province. Anyway, I got to get off to the news. I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Don't be a stranger. Appreciate it.
Have a good one.
You too.
You.
Thanks very much. All right, right on the news, Dave, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to a rebroadcast of VOCM Open Line. Have your say by calling 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626 and listen live weekday mornings at 9 a.m.
And welcome back to the show. Just got a quick note, or I should say a picture sent to me from a loyal listener, I'll say. It looks like a little mishap at Rollins Cross there. It happened just before 11 a.m. And not sure if she's cleaned up, but just a heads up, there is RNC on the scene and a car with a good smack on the front end. I only see one, but I'm sure there's probably something else involved there. Not sure how familiar, just for the livers in the St. John's area, that intersection is always, the Rollins Cross intersection. What can you say about that? We could talk a whole show. But there is a bit of a delay if you're traveling westbound. On that. So if you're going eastbound and you're waiting there at the crosswalk, once that light turns, the traffic is still coming eastbound, or westbound, sorry, say from Hotel Newfoundland up towards, say, Brother Rice, if you will, or the rooms. So if you're traveling that way, you have a few more seconds, so you can't just guess the yellow and the red and the green like some people do, whether it's just trying to squeeze through the yellow or trying to jump on the red. The lights don't work that way there, and you have to be really aware of it. Not the only intersection in town like that, but the delay, worth noting. Let's go right to line number 5, and Gerard waiting patiently on line 5. You're on the air.
Hello.
Good morning, Gerard.
Good morning, sir.
How are you?
Last week I heard you mention something about the EST.
Yeah.
is there an increase or something coming up in GST?
Yeah, so the federal government has proposed this, not fully through Parliament yet, but we know that Carney and the Prime Minister and Pierre Poilievre have been having these quiet talks back room to avoid any potential for an election, make sure that everything flows normally here, trying to get on the same page. There's no election. And one of the proposals put forth by the federal government, they call it the key changes. So these are changes to the GST checks. And the check is due, I think, in April. That one will come out normally after April, the next check. Let's see, starting as of July of 2026, actually, the actual credit, what you get now, will increase by 25%. And it'll do that for 5 years. So whatever you're getting regularly in your GST check, when you file your income tax, they determine that. And so there's a bump in that of 25% for the next 5 years. And there's also a one-time top-up. And that's just a one-time payment, a little bump in the check, and that equals 50% of the entire 2025-2026 benefit, and that'll be expected in June. So you wouldn't normally get a check in June, but this one-time payment, a little bump on the GST, not a little bump, it's 50% of the benefit for 2025-26 this tax year. That'll be paid out in June of 2026. So there are increases coming. There's also first-time home buyer relief as well for all of us out there, you know, buying a home at $1 million or a little less. You can. There's also a GST rebate involved there, up to $50,000, and other ones. But the main one, I think, that you're probably speaking about, that we talked about last week, Gerard, is it Gerard or Gerard? Yes, Gerard. Is the one-time top-up in July. No, the one-time top-up equaling 50% is in June, and the increase of 25% for the next 5 years in each check that you get starts in July. Any of that make sense, or is it all mud?
So you said the one-time top-up comes in June?
That's correct. That's correct.
Any time in June, you know?
Well, I guess it depends when you normally get it. I mean, it'll be in the month. I can't tell you what date. Do you get it electronically into your bank account, or do you get a check in the mail?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, they say June of 2026, so the exact date I can't give you, and I wouldn't even dare, because who knows? One little technical glitch, and it could be delayed by a day or a week. But the 50% top-up is in June, and the actual increase in the GST credit, the quarterly increase, the check that you get every 4 months, that one's coming in July.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. I hope it made sense. Keep an eye out in June and July. Excellent. I don't know. Sometimes
you do. Take care. Take care now.
I appreciate it. Sometimes my tongue ties and I don't get it out, but there it is. Great. Thanks, Gerard.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thanks very much. Dave, what do you think? We take one quick one or take the break? Let's go to Mike Keogh. Let's see, line number 6. Mike, you're on the air. Sorry, I'm still navigating some choppy waters here, as you can appreciate.
Good morning. Excellent show. Thank you very much. Brian, I called late last week as well, unfortunately, near the end of your show. I want to make some comments on what's going on the South Coast, the National Marine Conservation Area controversy that's on the go down there. First of all, I want to compliment Premier Wakeham for taking the action that he did. I think the province is wise to do that, based on my knowledge of what's going on with the undertaking to withdraw Newfoundland's participation in the Memorandum of Understanding as it's now laid out. Brian, I'm really disappointed in Parks Canada primarily, but DFO as well, and that Parks Canada is putting out misinformation. It's leaving people with the impression, don't worry about this, we got this, you're going to be looked after, you're not going to lose anything, don't worry about it at all, everything's going to be fine. And by the way, we're going to really pump up tourism in the area, Sandbanks, and possibility of like a Gross Moran type of setup down there, which of course is not going to happen. None of that is going to happen, Brian. This is coordinated. Now, I remember back in John Leon days, I think I heard you say, Brian, last week you knew John?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah, sure. I'd met John many times, both in my work, and I happened to be dating a pretty little towny girl who lived close by the research or rescue center, the Whale Rescue Center on Mount Shire Road.
Right.
So I got to meet him many times like that. And I know his feelings on conservation areas and protected areas. And he was a great advocate. He did a lot of really good work, that person did. So I remember those days, and I remember when the union started out, the Fish Food and Allied Workers Union started out in Burgeo. And I remember when they lost their plant down there. And I remember the hard times they've had. And I listened to the former mayor saying that he'd get commitments and he'd come back and bang, the commitment like the crab license and all that would disappear on him. Brian, I think that's going to happen again. I think the town of Burgeo is being set up so that Parks Canada and DFO, under its Oceans Act, can meet commitments that it has made under UNESCO, the United Nations, this 30-30 commitment, 30% of marine areas, coastal marine areas, be set aside for marine conservation, biodiversity, and that.
Those numbers, and that's actually quoted in this in the preliminary papers that were put out on this MOU.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the other part of it is that it brought to the table, when it walked into the Confederation building, to fire up this whole thing again in 2023. So this is not a continuation of work that's gone over the years. This started in 2023, and it came as a result of Canada's commitment by Mr. Guilbeault and Mr. Trudeau under the UNESCO commitment, the COP commitment of 30-30, and the Parks Canada pulled in two Aboriginal bands on the steering committee with the town of Burgeo. So at the end of the day, the commitment here is to get a protected area, to have all control centralized, and to have it taken over by a management committee governed by the bands. They say that in their literature. So what's going to happen now is Parks Canada should not be saying everything is going to stay the same. You may or may not be able to go out. Up in the Northern Peninsula, Brian, we have a National Marine Conservation Area. You know the one I'm talking about, I guess?
I do.
Up there. And all that got us in this past year is it got foreign trawlers off our coast again. That all came as a result of the NMCA. What happened is the NMCA allowed the Aboriginal groups and two bands or three bands in Nova Scotia bought the trawlers, the old trawler from Clearwater, Mr. Resley. They got the trawlers. They had them up there. They needed a quota. So what DFO did was open the banned areas for trawler fishing to give the quota to the bands to land up north in the NMCA. But by doing so, they knew they were letting NAFO and the Europeans back in. That's all the NMCA got us up there. And now people who fished up there, Brian, can no longer, local livyers, the coastal people living there, now their quotas have disappeared for species they fished for decades, and now they got to go to the band to make an application to get the right to harvest.
And Mike, and only because of the time on the clock, I just want to make, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's fear of federal overtake here, only in the sense of past trade-offs and federal control. Right. People get their backs up about that. So that's to be expected, only because of history. It's wrong, I think, to presuppose and how this is all going to play out. Canceling it outright, that's the other issue, the cancel culture, instead of just, as long as the federal government is messaging that way, as you said, Parks Canada, nothing to see here, it's all going to be good and all the rest of it. When you look at other areas, when we've handed over federal control, it hasn't really worked out great in our favor. We lose the control of it, and I get that part of it as well. So as I say, I make no apologies for being 100% objective on this topic. I'll hear all sides. No. I'd like to be in the room with all groups, but I heard Jenny Brake yesterday, I think, with the Halapu First Nation, also very disappointed in all of this and how it's playing out. It remains to be seen. Michael, I got to get off to the break. I really appreciate the call, man.
Jenny is protecting her band.
Absolutely.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks very much.
Look, I appreciate and understanding the time and the clock, too. Thanks very much, Mike.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, take care. All right, Dave, quick break. Back with Tom, back with Ed, Karina, and Nicholas right after the break. Welcome back to the show. Just a couple of quick notes on previous callers and some information. So first of all, those looking for those, we had a call from Inez out in Spanish Bay, post offices, if you got one close, I know there's one in Bay Roberts, Service Canada, any of the commercial operations, H&R Block might have tax forms if you're looking for them, the usual ones, or even, the more complicated ones, God forbid. And that number that we did give out earlier, as opposed to what you might find through a Google search, is also working out for people, and that's 855-330-3305. And if you didn't quite catch it, Dave is right there for all your phone number needs and everything else that you need for Open Line. So that's a little update on that. And somebody else called wondering, I had mentioned the Ambassador Bridge. I made mention of it, that and in the context of the latest diatribe that came from the President of the United States yesterday on everything from Chinese hockey to, the new bridge that was supposed to open in 2024, that's supposed to now open this year, the link between Detroit and Windsor. They're calling it the Gordie Howe Bridge. It's a new bridge, not an old one. It's the new one that was paid for by Canada, almost $7 billion. And the one that Trump says and the reason I mention the Ambassador is because that's the alternative. That's the main trip across from U.S. to Canada, Canada to U.S. This is an alternative that's been under construction for more than a decade. And again, I mentioned it in that context as the alternative to the Ambassador Bridge. But to my knowledge, and I'm not there right now at the toll gate or anything, or at the gate, to my knowledge, that bridge is open and running. But the alternative, the new Gordie Howe Bridge, Trump has set his sights on that one now, and we can go there if you want to. Only got a half hour left today, but I'm all over anything, whether or not, and we can even get into the Epstein stuff, which is just blowing up. The next shoe to drop there might very well be the British PM Starmer, but we'll see what happens. Let's go to Ed on line 2. You're on the air.
How are you today?
Good morning, Ed.
Good morning. I was going to say something about the Trump stuff. Turn off all the electricity and power and all that to them, let them squirm around for about a couple of weeks. Anyway, in the meantime, I've been noticing a fair bit of businesses and commercial properties that for some reason, and I don't know why they're not doing it, is clearing out handicap zones, the front door for people to get into the door for accessibility, no matter which way you look at it. I usually pick up a lady at a seniors complex, and a building that has basically 18 apartments and 9 doors, and for some reason whoever's doing this parking lot thing and the sidewalks it does a horrible job. I have to bring my own shovel, my own scrapers and all that just to get this particular person out of the building, because they're not doing a very good job of it. Really not. One person in that particular box was struggling with a shovel, and I hadn't had the gear with me. I went down. There's physically 2 inches of ice by her front door, on her front door, which is the sidewalk to step in, right? 2 inches of ice on it, solid ice. Don't know why they're not doing it. I have no clue, but it's higher than the actual door. So if any water builds up, it's going to go in the building.
Yeah, and these privately owned operations or publicly owned, wherever you're seeing this, they neglect it at their own peril. Right? I mean, anything happens, a slip and a fall, anything on your property. I mean, it's the obligation, obviously. If this is your private property, this time of year, it's par for the course. We know what we're getting, and we know, especially for anyone with accessibility challenges, if the blue spots and the place is close to, it kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? It's at their peril that they don't, and not just that as a courtesy. I do the same as you, by the way. I have a couple of scrapers and a shovel in the back of my vehicle just in case this time of year, because you never know. And you don't want to be doing it without your gloves and with gloves on. I mean, whatever you could run into, people need a hand. Or, as you say, are you in the service industry like that, Ed? Like, are you operating a taxi or a shuttle or anything like that?
Years ago, I was taxiing. That was beside the point. But I mean, I'm just doing this out of helping people out here and there.
Yep.
So for some strange reason, I'm going to a business, which I went to with an individual, and the front door to get into the building wasn't even shoveled, wasn't even shoveled out. You could see like somebody took a blade of a vehicle and scraped a little bit out, but to get into the physical door, couldn't use that door because the person is disabled. So they had to go to a completely different door, which seemed to be cleared out, but then they got a high step in it, so the person has found it difficult trying to get into that particular business itself. So a number of days later, I checked, and sure enough, the door that was still blocked up was still not shoveled or even the snow removed from the area, which again doesn't make any sense to me at all. I mean, you look at it this way. One, if somebody slips and falls, there you go. You got a big problem there, because then you're going to get your business either sued or, the government can set fines for accessibility that is not accessible to the actual public itself. And then two, number three, you got PR. You got bad publicity on the internet and that of say, don't go to this business because this business doesn't clear out any of their doors to get people with disability to get in the door itself, to actually physically either get some of the products, or it could be sitting down for a meal, or it could be anything. Right? Are you regularly back and forth to this particular business to drop off or pick up? Well, you drive back and forth, and you can just look and you can see that the door's not done. I'm just wondering how often it's left like that. If this is a one-off, somebody gone away, just not available for a couple of days, or is it a regular occurrence? You know what I mean? Well, I look at it this way. I went into the business itself, right? Physically had to take a different door, obviously. But 3 days later, I looked. Nothing changed. Same problem. So obviously it's not been checked or reviewed and all that. And I will be phoning the store owner and tell him about this, because it's unacceptable by any particular means. Ed, honestly, if nothing else, it's a great reminder for people to just, especially if you're running an operation, accessibility these days, just any days really, I shouldn't say these days. It's a great reminder that, you and I, or any able-bodied, I shouldn't assume you're able-bodied, but just the access alone is just a pain. Most businesses have it all cleared away, but if that one door, and kind of defeats the purpose for the accessibility angle, hey? Well, it defeats the purpose of having a handicap zone in the first place, when the handicap zone could be completely covered in ice and not cleared at all, or you have a door going to the front door of the building, which, again, is not accessible. Yep. Or you literally have to climb over, in some cases I've come across, you had to climb over a big mound of snow to get to the front door, because apparently the person, whoever was using the piece of equipment clearing the parking lot, didn't even put any salt or sand down, or didn't even clear it out so you can actually get to the door physically okay. And that's not just for me, but that's for anybody who I help to the door or whatever, right? Yeah. Bad look for a building, bad look for a business, and word of mouth. I appreciate you not necessarily naming it. Let's give them an opportunity to see if they can fix that up and get, now that it's been brought to the attention. Ed, I appreciate the call and that topic and that awareness this time of year. It's hard enough to get out and about, and if you can't get into the place that you went to, you'll just go somewhere else and you're a business. So, you got to look out for yourself too. Thanks for the call. Feel free to provide an update if you happen to travel by that business again next few days and it's still not happening. Maybe there's something happening there, or not happening. So thanks for the call. Yeah, and there's also, if anybody slips and falls, you got to lose the company, or even the commercial business got a lawsuit on their hands there. At their peril, as you mentioned, absolutely. Yep. So it's due diligence, eh? Yep. Absolutely. Thanks for the call. Take care. All right, into one more break, Dave, and then we get into the home stretch for the morning. We got Tom, we got Karina, and Nicholas Keough standing by patiently. Thanks for that. We'll be right back.
The Tim Powers Show. Join the conversation weekday afternoons at 4 p.m. on your VOCM.
Welcome back to the home stretch. Just a quick note for our listeners in the Clarenville area. Got a note from a caller. She says the Shoal Harbour Bridge is closed in both directions for at least an hour, I'm told. Now, this is just from a caller in the area. It says the bridge area is closed for the next hour at least in both directions. And the note she left us was first responders are doing a recovery operation. Now, I don't know what that means exactly. I'm not going to try to guess. It's the only information we got. But our newsroom is on it and we'll give a shout out to the RCMP in the town there to see if we get anything official on that. Let's go right to line number 4, Nicholas Keogh, NL Chair of the Canadian Federation of Students. You're on the air.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome, Nicholas. I wish I had more time. Go for it.
All good. No, I just wanted to call in to respond to some of the things that's been happening with the Registered Nurses Union and their comments about the loss or the cancellation of the accelerated nursing program at MUN.
Yeah, I mentioned that off the top. She seemed blindsided completely, the President of Nurses Union, Yvette Coffey.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just wanted to say that we stand in full solidarity with the RNUNL on this. It's definitely very frustrating to see so much being taken from students despite the fact that the provincial government is obviously saying they want to not have things go on the backs of students, but students are now unfortunately losing access to programs. There's a number of programs being cut, and especially with the way our healthcare is right now, we need to see an investment in healthcare. We need to see an investment in education because they really do go hand in hand. We need to see the Memorial get back some of the funding that it's been losing over the past 10 years from the provincial government. I think it's really important that we have administration and the provincial government work together on a plan to increase funding to the university so that we can continue to provide an education to anyone in this province.
Yeah, I hear you. You're absolutely right. The Premier did say that and pledged not to balance the books or balance MUN's books on the backs of students. That's all fine and good, but when you squeeze a university and tell them to find all these efficiencies, and they have the level of autonomy still to make those decisions where they will, well, you make the point. The collaboration is completely necessary in order to make sure that it's not balanced on the backs. It's fine for the government to say it, but MUN is in a tight spot.
Absolutely, and I think I have my concerns with the administration, absolutely, but I think we do need to increase funding to the university to address things like deferred maintenance and to make sure that we don't have these program cuts, because even if Memorial does exactly what it needs to do, it's still going to have to cut some very important things to students and faculty, and that's going to have a larger impact on the province at large, because the more program cuts there are, because it's not just nursing, there's a lot of other programs that are being cut, and I'm sure more to come. The more programs that are cut, that's the more reason that people would not attend Memorial. People from Newfoundland and Labrador would leave the province for post-secondary. I think that's a really big concern for anyone in the province in terms of out-migration. I think we really need to incentivize people to stay in the province. Yeah, and President Janice Morrison has a task. There's no question about that. She's been a good communicator, no question, everything I've seen, especially stuff that we're aware of. What's going behind the scenes, whether it's the elimination of those seats, the accelerated nursing program. Just off the top, it seems like a program that should stay, given the crunch we have in nursing. But Nicholas, I'll give you just another minute there. I wish we have more time the end of this week. I hope you'll call back in just because we're in the last half hour, but I'll just give you the last word. No, absolutely. I think it's really important. I think we at the Federation are extremely happy that the provincial government has decided to enact the tuition freeze that they promised, but we also need to see the funding that goes along with it. That's what's always been. In 1999, when a tuition freeze was put in place, there was extra funding to go along with it. And we need to see both. We can't have one or the other. A tuition freeze is incredibly important, and so is additional funding to the university. And we just need to collaborate to make sure those funds are used properly so that it's not on the backs of students. Absolutely. No argument here. Hand in hand it has to be, or glove in hand, or cap in hand, or whatever you want to call it. Nicholas Keogh, the NL Chair of the Canadian Federation of Students, I appreciate that. Thanks so much. I know it was a little bit squeezed, but we got lots of time the next few days while I'm here for this week. So please don't be a stranger. Call again. Thank you very much. The invite. Thanks so much. All right, let's go right to Eddie Joyce on line 2. Eddie, you're on the air.
Hello, Brian. How are you today? Grand, sir. We're going to cut right to the chase here, I think. The dispute over the PET scanner on the West Coast with the Corner Brook Hospital. Fire away.
Brian, this has become such a political issue. It's people's health we're dealing with here, the commitment that was made. And I go back to the beginning when myself and Dwight Ball in the opposition made the commitment that with the new hospital there will be a radiation unit and a PET scanner. It was committed in 2017 again, along with the radiation services. The PET scanner was taken out by the Liberal government in 2021. John Hagee public statements they're in the media saying we didn't need a second one on the West Coast, and they used Quebec as an example with the number. It was realized in 2021 election that it was out. Dwight Ball, who I firmly believe, and he put it in writing that he had absolutely no discussions in taking out the PET scanner while he was the premier of this province, and I agree with that. So to cover it up, they gave $2 million to the Western Healthcare Foundation to say we're going to buy it when is needed.
That was the money that was put in trust, correct?
Put in trust to the hospital foundation, yes, sir. And in the last election, the Liberals were stating a PET scanner was coming. It was false. It was absolutely false. Now, with the new government in place, about 4 months ago, I had a meeting with the CEO and staff of Western Health, and they said yes, that they're starting with some construction, electrical, engineering for a PET scanner. And that's great news. So we move forward now. In order for a PET scanner to be in Corner Brook, it takes years. It just can't just say, here's a machine. The licensing has to be done by the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission, and then equipment in St. John's has to be certified, which would then entail that the new PET scanner in Corner Brook would be also. And the new government, given credit, was just elected. And the first letter I wrote was to Minister Leal Evans, and I spoke to Premier Wakin on numerous occasions about this before and after the election. The reply I received from Minister Evans was an honest assessment. It was truthful. What she said in her letter, which I said publicly, is that the earliest this could be certified and approved was 2027. That is the honest assessment that Minister Evans made, and then you hear the Liberals talking about, well, we committed to it. They never delivered. It was supposed to be in 2021, and when the radiation opened, a unit opened here, the PET scanners were supposed to go hand in hand. Last election said, oh, we're getting ready. Nothing about the certification. It's going to take a year and a half, 2 years to get done. And then the part with me is that now there's a bit of controversy about purchasing the machine.
Well, the minister said it wasn't purchased and they're not going to go ahead and it's on hold. And lo and behold, then we found out the purchase order had gone through.
No, the minister did not say it's on hold.
Not on hold, just not happening. It hasn't been done.
No. What the minister said, we didn't purchase. What it is a purchase agreement. If and how it works is that you can order a piece of equipment, you can cancel it, but in order, and I go back to my meeting, in order to know what electrical you need, what engineering you need a piece of equipment. As was explained by me, by someone who's very knowledgeable, it's like building a house. You put in what you want for your windows, you order the windows. So you cannot do the electrical and you cannot do the engineering without knowing what type of equipment you're going to have to put in there. So what the minister did is there's no delivery date on it, because you don't know when it's going to be installed. So what she did is put a purchase order. Is a schematic that she bought it, a purchase order. It's there being committed that we need, which we will, and I have full confidence in that it will be done, is that if when the government gets the electrical and needed the equipment and gets it certified, this is the other big point.
That's the other, yeah.
That's going to take a year and a half. So you're not going to say, we want the machine now, sitting idle. And like the minister said, then the other things kick in, like how long is the warranty on it? So what you got to do is take it step by step. And the first step is they're doing electrical. They need to know what to do with electrical and the engineering on what type of machine. That is why it's a purchase order.
Eddie, only because I'm right up against it. The first steps as you said, that purchase order thing, I would argue the first steps are getting the staff. I mean, we don't have nuclear medicine professionals to operate that PET scanner right now. And if you listen to the recruiters and the people who are in the know on this, that's the first step. But we don't even have the staff right now that could do that work.
But Brian, and this is the other part I was going to bring up. In the letter that the minister wrote me, is that they are recruiting. They do have incentives. So this wasn't just saying we're doing the machine. In the letter that the minister wrote me, which I agree with, she's saying we are actively recruiting staff. So when everybody's talking about recruiting staff, it do take time. It is a specialized field. There's absolutely no doubt about that. No doubt. But what was happening is that the previous government now, who's criticizing what's happening here, never started the recruitment. The minister, in her letter, said we are recruiting. We have incentives. And we got till 2027. So let's hope that the hand-in-hand of building the right machine for the right structure that's in the Corner Brook new regional hospital, and now they got over a year to try to get the staff that we need. So this is going hand in hand. Yep. And I have confidence in the minister. The people who are out criticizing the minister have had very little, if any, involvement with this here now. It's just politics. But I can say the Minister Evans and Premier Wakeham were the only honest ones yet to the people of Western Newfoundland giving the true facts. Well, and I'm going to be working with the minister. I'm going to be working with Premier Wakeham to work through this, to get this done for the people of Western Newfoundland. I'm not going to be sidetracked by the politics of it.
I appreciate that, Eddie, especially coming from that gives you that flexibility as an independent MHA for Humber Bay Violence. That is absolutely 100% true and right, and it puts you in a great position. I appreciate, and I'm sure others appreciate, the lack of political speak in what you just said. You've been a Liberal MHA. You're not necessarily falling into the party of the past or anything like that. I love the non-partisan message you're sending, and listen, if it wasn't for the time, we'd keep going with all the other aspects. I appreciate the call. I got to get on to my next caller.
And Brian, the only thing I say
sure.
was myself and Dwight Ball started this process in 2011, and I'm going to continue to see it through.
Absolutely. You do that work, yeoman work. Eddie, thanks so much for the call.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for taking my time to explain this.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Every second of it.
You.
Thanks. Okay. All right, Dave, last break in the morning. 2 callers. We're going to squeeze them in. One come hell or high water. We'll be right back. Come back to the program. We're going to get a couple in before the end of the show. Karina, you're on the air.
Thank you, Brian, for taking my phone call. I spoke with you on Friday.
Yes.
About the service I received at the Carbonear Hospital. The reason I'm calling back today is to give a little bit of an update. I ended up having to go into Clarenville, the GB Cross Hospital, because I never did get no satisfaction from Carbonear. And Brian, I went to the GB Cross Hospital. I got there at 10 o'clock p.m. and 12 o'clock I was home in my house.
You mean 2 hours later or 12 hours later?
2 hours later. 2 hours later, I was home.
Okay, that's got to be a first here on this open line show, but go ahead.
So anyway, I got there. They took me right in to triage. They did my blood pressure, all my vitals, and all that stuff. They asked what was going on. I told them. They sent me right down to x-rays right after I left triage. The x-rays were taken, and within, I'd say, 11 o'clock, I was in to the inside where the doctor was. The doctor came in. He examined my ribs and whatnot. I did find out I do have 3 fractured ribs.
Wow.
Which is not fun, but there's nothing they can do for ribs. You can't fix them.
That's right.
But he did give me some pain medication, which has helped. But my point in calling in is that the Clarenville ER took care of me right away. And you know why? Because the Clarenville ER has a doctor. The doctor is only for the ER. I can go there at 2 o'clock in the morning. I can go there at 2 o'clock in the day. No matter what time I get there, I may have to wait a time, but I will see a doctor, because there is that one doctor for the ER. Now, the problem with the Carbonear Hospital is you've got one doctor. That doctor is doing the job of 4 doctors. He's doing the ER. He's doing the upstairs. He's probably doing, I don't know, maybe surgery. Who knows? Yep. But anyway, he is overworked. So they need to make a change to the system in the Carbonear Hospital. They need an ER doctor. for sure. Premier Tony Wakeham promised us there would be changes in health care. I'm going to call him out on that. It's time for him to step up to the plate and make these changes. People are dying. People are suffering because our health care system is no longer the way it used to be.
Karina, only because, listen, if I had more time, I've got to squeeze in one more call before the end of the show. I'm here for the next 3 days. Listen, everyone appreciates the good, like the shout out, the kudo, the good news story for healthcare for once, and that one hospital, even if it's not to the other hospital yet. I appreciate the call. Please call back later in the rest of the week. I'll give you more time.
Okay, Brian, I got to say one more thing before you hang up.
Real quick.
I have contacted the MHA of Carbonear, Raleigh Balsam. I do have a meeting made with him for later next week where we will be discussing the Carbonear Hospital and the changes that need to be made. So I am not letting this go to the wayside or on the back burner. I am going to fight for the Carbonear Hospital and the people of this town, even though I just moved here. But things need to change.
And, well, you should fight for it, and I don't expect you to be quiet about it and carry it on. Thanks for the call. Thanks for the update. Thanks for the information. All right, quickly to Tom Davis, Ward 4 Councillor in St. John's. Last caller of the morning. Tom, you got 3 minutes.
Brian, we're going to leave a lot of what I want to say today for tomorrow, for next week. But listen, Chill Fest starts on Thursday. It's the City of St. John's celebration with all kinds of free things. Starting Thursday, there's free skating, and then right up till Monday as it goes through. Sunday, the big event with bouncy castle stuff out in Kenmount Terrace. So I encourage residents to have a look at that. I just want to overall make a commentary on some of the callers that we've been hearing, like that lady you just heard. There was a lady earlier. I really believe we all need to sit back and just contemplate the fact that when the PERT report came out, it said that when they talked to senior managers in government that deficits really didn't matter and budgets were aspirational, which means basically like, oh, well, if we get them, that's great. If we don't, it really doesn't matter. Yeah. And that then trickles down through the whole organization. And whether it's private or public, and it's really easy to throw stones at public sector, but I think all of us will agree that there's just been a change in how Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, and I'm sure it's not just here, I'm sure it's right across the country and maybe all around the world, but how much we really care about what we're doing. And that doesn't mean we don't care, but to what degree do we care? And when it becomes cultural, that it's almost, why are you killing yourself? Why are you working so hard? Like that when all of a sudden that becomes the culture within an organization, then you have the opposite problem. You have the peer pressure of not trying to go above and beyond, or maybe not even to the standard that would have been expected not that long ago. And I really think, and I want to explore a little more next week, but I really think we need to realize that we can't stop. I mean, government has to have accountability. They have to have transparency, and they need to stop promising us rainbows and lollipops. But as it trickles down through, we all have an individual responsibility, whether it's a clerk, whether there's a snowplow operator, whether it's a counselor or a business person or a radio talk show host. We all have to figure out what our responsibility is to our fellow Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, to our families, and figure out how we can all work smarter and care. Yep. I just would argue care just a little bit more.
Absolutely. And my responsibility right now as talk show host is to make sure I'm out in the next 25 seconds. So, Tom, I appreciate the call. I am sorry about the short period of time. But
no worries. Thank you, Brian.
But I look forward to hearing your comments and other councillor comments later on this afternoon during the regular public meeting of St. John City Council.
Sounds good, sir.
Awesome.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks for the call. Appreciate your understanding. All right, that does it for Tuesday. Drive safely, everybody. Arrive alive. VOCM cares.